Originally, I wrote this roadmap in 2024. I have now just put out a fully updated version for 2026, so I thought I could just quickly walk through it and talk about some of the major points here. The core premise hasn't really changed. The goal is still to learn the must-haves as fast as possible, get hired, and then you get paid to learn everything else. Most roadmaps out there describe the perfect candidate and not really the one who actually gets hired. First, I'll address some common misconceptions. You don't really need years of IT experience or strong programming skills from day one. You don't need a wall of certifications. You don't need a blog or a YouTube channel. Those are all nice to have, of course, but they are not requirements for landing your first job. What is the most attractive to people hiring junior testers are the work ethic and the ability to explain a methodology under pressure during the interview. You need some soft skills, and you need to be able to provide proofs or products. So the first step is about dedicating yourself. It's about consistency. It sounds obvious until you see how many people fail here. You don't really need motivation. You need a schedule that survives in periods when you don't have as much motivation. For example, 1 hour a day, 5 or 6 days a week. Do that for half a year. That's enough to beat the majority of applicants. Most people don't fail because the material is too hard. They fail because they quit. Additionally, try to create a product of some kind every week. A small deliverable that you could have shown an interviewer or that you can present to a friend. Create a write-up, structure notes from a lab into a report, something tangible that you can make a product out of. So next up is understanding the goal of pen testing. This one is really important to understand as a beginner. Nobody is paying you to just hack their systems. They're paying you to identify risk, prove impact on their business, and then explain the fixes to them clearly. That's the job, which is why communication matters so much. A complicated exploit with a weak explanation has almost no value to a client. The third point, specialize early, even if you are a beginner. I know it sounds kind of backwards. Most people's instinct is to learn the basics of everything first, but beginners who try to cover everything usually end up being good at nothing. A good move is to look at actual job postings in your area. See what companies are actually hiring for. And for 2026 specifically, web and API testing are still the most in-demand specialization in my experience. Cloud testing and identity abuse are also still popular. Internal network and Active Directory are in demand as well, but this is the favorite field of a lot of senior pen testers, so it could be highly competitive. Kubernetes and container security, and of course AI has to be mentioned. It's a super buzzword right now. And never forget this. Don't pick a specialization because it sounds cool. Pick it because you can see actual demand for it. When it comes to the hierarchy of experience, work experience is the most valuable. Bug bounties and real disclosures are second most valuable, and I think those are actually still undervalued. Then you have the practical certs, and then the CTF platforms. That's the order of credibility with hiring managers. At least that's how I see it. The real skill is exploring a target when you don't know if a vulnerability even exists. CTFs tell you there's a flag. Real targets don't. And that's why bug bounties are very close to actual work experience. Actually, I shouldn't really say that. Bug bounties are work experience. For CTF platforms, I think that the Portswigger Web Security Academy is very good. Hack the Box is also good, and Try Hack Me is of course fantastic for beginners. But please don't forget bug bounties. It's rather easy to get into. Pick a program, apply to it, and try to get some findings. This is a very good way to gain work experience without having to land a job first. This will get you ahead of a lot of competitors. Next step, I wanted to add something on certifications, mainly for getting past HR filters. The one I highlight that I like myself is the BSCP, which is a very good cert for web. You also have various practical entry-level certs. Hack the Box is getting more and more popular. Then of course you have the OSCP. You might have to take this one depending on which area you work in. It might just be clear requirement in some areas or industries. But the OSCP works a bit against what I've said earlier because it learns you a quite wide range of the things instead of focusing on a specific path. And then another important step, over-prepare for the interview. Most candidates don't actually prepare for the interview itself. They prepare for the technical knowledge, walk in, and then they can't explain their methodology. What I recommend for preparing is that you do a full pen test walkthrough end to end. Explain your methodology, how you would scope the projects, what tools you would use, how you would go through with it, and so on. And yeah, create a little write-up. Practice scenario questions out loud. How would you test a login flow? How would you test an admin panel? How would you test an API? These things come up constantly. Also, do interviews early. Don't save them for your dream job. Use the first few as practice rounds. You don't want to apply for the job you want the most as your first interview. You will probably be pretty bad at it the first couple of times. On that note, start applying. Apply widely. Just cover as much as possible as long as it's relevant to what you want to do. The goal right now is that you learn fast, you fail fast, and you can find a mentor, for example. So in conclusion, you want to fast-track the must-haves, and then you get paid to learn the rest, and then you land your dream job. That's all. Of course, the full article is in the description. If you disagree with something or have questions, leave a comment. I'll always get back to you. And yeah, subscribe to get notified about the next one. Thanks.